The warning sirens echoed across the crystal cities of Kepler 442b as the Valdari people looked up at their purple sky with growing terror. Dark shapes moved between the three moons that hung above their world like silent watchers. The hegemony fleet had arrived. Captain Jake Morrison felt his research ship Horizon's Edge shudder as another system failed. Red lights flashed across his control panel while sparks flew from damaged circuits behind him. His deep space survey mission had gone wrong 3 days ago, when a microasteroid punched through his hull near the engine compartment. Now his ship was dying around him as he desperately searched for somewhere to land. The planet below looked promising. Sensors showed breathable atmosphere and what appeared to be cities built from some kind of living crystal. Jake had never seen architecture like it before. The structures seemed to grow from the ground itself, spiraling upward in organic curves that caught the light of the system's orange star. His ship's computer spoke in its calm mechanical voice. Hull breach in Section 4 expanding. Life support failing. Emergency landing required within 18 minutes. Jake gripped the control stick tighter as he guided his dying ship toward the largest city. He could see movement on the ground now. Strange figures were running through the crystal streets. Some kind of evacuation was happening down there, but Jake had no choice. His ship was going down whether he wanted it to or not. The landing was more of a controlled crash. Horizon's Edge skipped across a field of blue grass before slamming into the side of a small hill. Jake's head hit the control panel and everything went black. When he woke up, strange faces were looking down at him. The beings had large, dark eyes and skin that shifted between blue and green like the surface of a calm ocean. They had no hair, but fins ran along the sides of their heads and down their necks. Gills fluttered gently as they breathed. Their hands had 4 long fingers with webbed skin between them. One of the creatures spoke in a voice like water flowing over stones. Jake's universal translator struggled for a moment before the words became clear. The Skyfallen One awakens. We are Valdari. You are safe now. Jake tried to sit up, but gentle hands pressed him back down. He was lying on something soft that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. The walls around him were the same living crystal he had seen from orbit, but up close he could see they were actually breathing. Tiny lights moved through their surface, like blood through veins. My ship, Jake said. Is it destroyed? The Valdari who had spoken before tilted her head in a way that reminded Jake of a curious bird. Your metal vessel is broken beyond our ability to heal, but you are not broken. Our biohealers work to repair your injuries. As Jake's vision cleared, he could see more of the room. Other Valdari moved around him, carrying what looked like living tools that glowed with their own inner light. The air smelled of ocean spray and growing things. Everything in this place was alive in some way. I am Venthara, the first Valdari said. I serve as prime healer for this colony. What are you called and from where do you come? Jake Morrison, I'm human. From Earth. Jake looked around the strange medical facility. What's happening outside? I saw your people running when I crashed. Venthara's skin color shifted to darker shades of blue. In the corner of the room, an older Valdari with deep green skin patterns spoke up. The Deathbringers have come. They call themselves the hegemony. They want our world for the crystal formations that grow here. Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with his injuries. They want to conquer you? Worse, the old Valdari said. They want to harvest our crystal cities? They cannot take what they desire while we still live here, so we must be removed. The word remove carried weight that Jake's translator couldn't fully capture, but he understood the meaning. These peaceful aliens were facing extinction, and they were treating his injuries without asking for anything in return. Over the following days, Jake learned about the Valdari and their desperate situation. The hegemony was a military alliance of 4 different alien species that expanded through conquest and resource extraction. They had been moving through this part of the galaxy for decades, leaving dead worlds behind them. The Valdari had no weapons. The concept of deliberately harming another living being was so foreign to them that they had no word for murder in their language. Their technology was based on growing and shaping living things rather than building machines. Their ships were Alive? Their cities were alive? Even their computers were living organisms bred for intelligence. Jake watched through the crystal walls as Valdari families loaded their possessions onto what looked like giant flying fish. The evacuation was happening. Slowly, because the Valdari kept stopping to help each other and make sure no one was left behind. Their compassion was going to get them all killed. On his third day of recovery, Jake attended a council meeting in the central chamber of the city. Hundreds of Valdari had gathered to discuss their options. The chamber itself was a living organism, with walls that changed color to reflect the emotions of the speakers. Elder Zeftal stood at the center of the room. His ancient skin showed deep patterns of silver and gold that marked him as one of the colony's oldest residents. The hegemony ships have begun their descent. Their message was simple. We have one planetary rotation to surrender, or they will begin burning our cities from orbit. The chamber walls flickered with shades of fear and despair. A younger Valdari, near the front, spoke up. Perhaps if we explain that we mean them no harm, they will spare us. Venthara's skin showed the dark blue of sadness. I have studied the hegemony's methods on 17 other worlds. They do not spare, they consume. Jake struggled to his feet despite the protests of his biohealers. The assembled Valdari turned to look at the strange alien who had fallen from their sky. You saved me when you had every reason to be suspicious. You healed me when you could have left me to die. You gave me sanctuary when your own world was under threat. The chamber fell silent. Jake's universal translator worked to find words that would carry his meaning in the Valdari language. My people have a saying, no good deed goes unreturned. You helped me when I had nothing to offer you in return. Now I want to help you. Elder Zeftal approached Jake with slow, careful movements. What help can one sky-fallen alien provide against an entire fleet? Jake met the Elder's large, dark eyes. Get me to my ship's communication array. If I can send a message to Earth, my people will come for you. Humans don't abandon those who show us kindness. The chamber walls rippled with colors Jake didn't recognize. Venthara translated, Hope, you speak of hope. But your world is many star jumps away. Even if your people received your message and chose to help us, there would not be time. Jake smiled despite their desperate situation. You don't know humans very well yet. When we make a promise, we keep it. When we care about something, we move fast. Get me to my ship, and I'll show you what Earth does for its friends. Jake limped through the wreckage of his ship with Venthara and 2 other Valdari following close behind. The horizon's edge had been torn open like a metal flower when it crashed, but some systems were still intact. Sparks flew from damaged conduits while broken glass crunched under their feet. The communication array is in the forward section, Jake said as he climbed over a twisted piece of hull plating. If the quantum transmitter survived impact, I might be able to reach Earth. Venthara watched Jake work with curious eyes. Her skin showed patterns of yellow and green that Jake had learned meant she was thinking hard about something. Your people are truly so far away that messages take time to travel between stars? Jake pulled open a panel and examined the circuitry. Inside, half the components were fried, but the main transmitter crystal looked undamaged. My homeworld is about 40 light-years from here. Normal radio signals would take 40 years to reach Earth, but quantum communication is instant no matter the distance. The Valdari who had come with them was named Kethrin, and he served as one of their bioengineers. He examined Jake's equipment with professional interest. Your technology uses dead materials shaped by force. Ours grows living systems that adapt and change. Perhaps we could combine both approaches. Jake looked up from his work. What do you mean? Kethrin gestured toward a device that looked like a cross between a flower and a computer. Our biocomputers can interface with any electrical system. They learn and adapt. If we connect one to your transmitter, it might boost the signal strength significantly. 3 hours later, Jake watched in amazement as Valdari biotechnology merged with human engineering. The biocomputer had grown thin tendrils that connected directly to his quantum transmitter. The organic components pulsed with their own rhythm while the Mechanical parts hummed with increased power. Jake activated his emergency beacon and began recording his message. Earth Command, this is Captain Jake Morrison aboard the research vessel. Horizon's Edge, current position is Kepler 442b in the Gliese 667 system. My ship is destroyed, but I am alive and uninjured thanks to the local inhabitants. He paused and looked at Venthara, who was listening carefully, even though she couldn't understand his words. The species that rescued me are called the Valdari. They are peaceful people with incredible biotechnology. They saved my life and asked for nothing in return. Now they face extinction from a military alliance called the Hegemony. Jake's voice grew more urgent. The Hegemony fleet is already in orbit. They've given the Valdari one day to surrender before they start bombing cities from space. These people have no weapons and no way to defend themselves. They're going to be wiped out unless someone helps them. The transmission equipment beeped to show the message was being sent through quantum space toward Earth. Jake started recording a second message with more technical details about the Valdari technology and the Hegemony threat. If Earth was going to help, they would need all the information he could provide. 40 light-years away in the Sol, System Communications Specialist Lisa Park was monitoring deep space transmissions from her post aboard the orbital platform Luna Station. Most of her shift involved listening to automated signals from distant probes and survey ships. The emergency beacon that suddenly appeared on her screen made her sit up straight in her chair. Lisa had been tracking the Horizon's Edge mission for months. Jake Morrison's ship had gone silent 3 days ago somewhere beyond the edge of mapped human space. Search and rescue operations were impossible at such distances. Jake Morrison had been listed as missing and presumed dead. Lisa played the message 3 times before she fully understood what she was hearing. A human ship had crashed on an alien world. The aliens had saved the pilot's life. Now those same aliens were about to be destroyed by some kind of military invasion force. She forwarded the transmission to Admiral Roy Campbell, who commanded Earth's Third Fleet from his flagship, the Washington. Campbell was a career military officer who had spent 30 years building Earth's space defense forces. He was not the kind of man who made quick decisions about alien contact. Campbell listened to Jake's messages while studying star charts on his command screen. Kepler 442b was far outside human territory in a region that Earth had never explored. Getting ships there would require a massive commitment of resources and personnel. What do we know about this hegemony? Campbell asked his intelligence officer, Commander Beth Harris. Harris pulled up files from the fleet database. Nothing, sir. This is the first time we've encountered that name. Morrison's messages describe them as a multi-species alliance that conquers worlds for resources. Based on his technical scans, their ships use fusion drives and energy weapons similar to our own technology. Campbell drummed his fingers on his command chair. And the Valdari? Completely unknown, sir. Morrison describes them as aquatic humanoids with advanced biotechnology. According to his scans, their cities are actually living organisms and their computers are bred rather than built. The Admiral stared at the star chart for a long moment. Kepler 442b was a 40-day journey at maximum fleet speed. Even if Earth committed every available ship, it would be a close thing. The Hegemony might finish their conquest before human forces could arrive. Campbell's COM system chimed with an incoming priority message from Earth. President. Alex Turner appeared on the main screen looking tired but determined. Admiral... Then briefed on the situation. What's your military assessment? The tactical situation is difficult. Mr. President, we'd be fighting unknown enemies in unfamiliar territory to defend aliens we've never met. The Valdari appear to be non-combatants, which means any battle would be entirely up to our forces. President Turner nodded slowly. What about the broader implications? This would be humanity's first major military intervention in alien affairs. Dr. Helen Wu appeared beside the president on split screen. She had been Earth's leading xenobiologist for 15 years and had studied every piece of alien contact data in human files. Mr. President, I've analyzed Morrison's detailed scans of Valdari society, These beings represent something extraordinary. A truly peaceful, advanced civilization that has achieved incredible technological progress without ever developing weapons. Campbell leaned forward in his chair. Dr. Wu, are you recommending military intervention to protect an alien species? Admiral, I'm recommending we protect something precious. Morrison's data shows the Valdari have solved problems we're still struggling with. Medical technology that can regrow organs, computers that adapt and learn like living minds, ships that repair themselves. If we let them be destroyed, we lose knowledge that could benefit all sentient life. President Turner was quiet for several minutes while he considered the options. Earth had always been cautious about alien contact. The discovery of faster-than-light travel had shown humanity that the galaxy was full of other civilizations, but most first-contact scenarios had involved careful diplomatic exchanges rather than military action. Admiral Campbell, prepare the fleet for immediate departure. I'm authorizing the use of all available military assets to defend the Valdari homeworld. Campbell felt his heart rate increase. Sir, that would be our entire deep space fleet. Nearly 300 ships. Then, that's what we send. Dr. Wu is right. We can't let genocide happen while we have the power to prevent it. Besides, if humanity is going to take its place among galactic civilizations, we need to show that we stand for something more than just our own interests. The president's image disappeared, leaving Campbell alone with the biggest military decision of his career. Within 6 hours, every Earth fleet was moving toward the edge of human space. The message Jake had sent from a crashed ship had started the largest military deployment in human history. The Earth fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system like a swarm of metal hornets. 300 ships of various sizes spread across space in perfect formation. At the center of the fleet, the massive Carrier Liberty led the way with Admiral Campbell standing on her bridge watching the tactical displays. Sir, we're detecting multiple alien vessels in orbit around the fourth planet, reported Lieutenant Commander Nancy Foster from her sensor station. I count 150 ships of unknown configuration. They appear to be conducting orbital bombardment of the surface. Campbell felt his jaw tighten. They had arrived just in time. Signal the fleet to battle stations. All ships assume attack formation. Communications open a channel to the alien fleet. The main screen showed the hegemony ships as red dots scattered around the blue-green world they were attacking. The enemy vessels were larger than most human ships, but their formations looked sloppy and overconfident. They had not expected resistance. Channel open, sir, reported Communications Officer Tony Martinez. Campbell stepped forward and spoke in his most commanding voice. Attention, hegemony fleet! This is Admiral Campbell of the Earth Defense Forces. You will cease your bombardment of the planet immediately and withdraw from this system. This is your only warning. The response came back in heavily accented English filled with clicking sounds and hisses. Pathetic mammals. You dare threaten the might of the hegemony? This world belongs to us now. Withdraw or be destroyed. Campbell looked at his tactical officer. Commander, how long until we're in weapons range? 18 minutes, sir. The enemy fleet is moving to intercept us. They're not running. Jake Morrison stood in the Valdari Command Center watching the battle displays that grew from the living walls like glowing flowers. The biocomputers had been tracking both fleets since the humans arrived. Venthara stood beside him with her skin showing the deep blue patterns of worry. Your people came, she said in wonder. They traveled across the Star Ocean to help us. Jake nodded as he watched the tactical display. I told you, humans keep their promises. But this is going to be the biggest space battle in our history. I hope we're ready for it. Elder Zeftal approached them with several other Valdari leaders. The hegemony commander has sent us a final message. He says if we do not surrender immediately, he will destroy your fleet and then burn our cities to ash. He offers us one last chance to save our world. Jake looked at the alien elder with grim determination. Tell him the Valdari are under Earth's protection now. If he wants this world, he'll have to go through us first. The first human ship to engage the enemy was the destroyer Phoenix under Captain Amy Rodriguez. Her ship was small and fast compared to the massive hegemony dreadnoughts, but it moved like a striking snake through space. The Phoenix fired its main guns at a Saurian heavy cruiser and watched the energy beams punch through alien armor. Target destroyed, reported Weapons Officer Carl Davis. Moving to next target. Rodriguez smiled grimly as her ship spun around to attack another enemy vessel. Let's show these aliens what human engineering can do. All weapons free, take them apart. The battle spread across the system as more ships joined the fight. The hegemony had expected easy prey, but they found themselves facing opponents who fought with tactics they had never encountered before. Human ships worked in coordinated groups that supported each other while alien formations began to fall. Apart under the pressure. Engineer Ben Carter worked frantically in the engine room of the Liberty as the massive carrier launched wave after wave of fighters. The ship shuddered under enemy fire, but her thick armor held against the alien weapons. Captain, we're holding steady. All systems operational. Captain Diana Wells commanded the Liberty's fighter squadrons from her bridge. Launch Group 7. I want continuous coverage over the planet. Nothing gets through to the surface. The fighter pilots were the heroes of the battle. Lieutenant Commander Steve Palmer led his squadron in modified fighters that had been upgraded with Valdari biotechnology. During the journey to Kepler 442, the bio-neural interfaces allowed the ships to respond to their pilots' thoughts rather than just their hands. This is amazing, Palmer said over the comm as his fighter twisted through space in ways that should have been impossible. It's like the ship knows what I want to do before I do it. His wingman Pete Jackson laughed as he destroyed a hegemony fighter with a perfect shot. The Valdari really know how to build things. My targeting computer is alive and it's learning from every shot I take. The hegemony forces began to realize they were not fighting the helpless prey they had expected. The mammals from the unknown world fought with a combination of aggression and intelligence that confused their rigid military doctrines. Worse, the human ships seemed to be adapting their tactics in real time. Commander Kreshtak of the Saurian Empire watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by opponents who should have been easy to defeat. His flagship, the Deathbringer, was taking heavy damage from multiple human ships that attacked in coordinated waves. All ships focus fire on the enemy flagship, destroy their command ship. 3 hegemony dreadnoughts turned their massive guns toward the Liberty, but the human carrier was protected by a screen of destroyers and cruisers. The Washington and Churchill moved to intercept the enemy fire while their own weapons struck back at the alien ships. Admiral Campbell watched the battle unfold from his command chair. The tactical displays showed human ships in green and enemy vessels in red. The red dots were disappearing faster than the green ones. Signal all ships. Press the attack. Don't give them time to regroup. Jake worked alongside Valdari technicians to coordinate the defense of their world. The biocomputers were sharing information with the human fleet in real time, creating a planetary sensor network that tracked every enemy movement. There, Jake pointed to a formation of hegemony ships, trying to break through the human lines. 3 cruisers heading for the northern continent. Venthara spoke into her biocommunicator, and the information was instantly relayed to the human fleet. Within minutes, the Washington and 2 destroyers were moving to intercept the enemy ships. The Valdari planetary network had become part of the battle, helping their human protectors fight more effectively. The turning point came when the hegemony flagship tried to ram the Liberty in a desperate suicide attack. The massive alien dreadnought charged straight at the human carrier with all weapons firing. But Captain Rodriguez in the Phoenix was ready. Her destroyer slipped between the 2 larger ships and fired everything she had at the enemy's engine section. The Deathbringer exploded in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from the planet's surface. With their flagship destroyed and their fleet scattered, the remaining hegemony ships began to retreat. What had started as an easy conquest had turned into a disaster. Campbell opened communications to all ships. This is Admiral Campbell. Pursuit. Course for all vessels. We're going to make sure they never come back. The battle was over, but the war for the future of the galaxy had just begun. The hegemony fleet regrouped at the edge of the system, but they did not retreat as Admiral Campbell had hoped. Instead, more ships began arriving through jump gates that opened like tears in space itself. The aliens were bringing reinforcements from across their empire. "Sir, I'm counting 200 additional vessels," reported Lieutenant Commander Foster from her sensor station. "They're forming up for another attack." Campbell studied the tactical display with growing concern. The human fleet had won the first battle, but they were now outnumbered almost 2-1. The hegemony ships included massive dreadnoughts that were twice the size of anything in Earth's fleet. All ships maintained defensive positions around the planet, Campbell ordered. "We're not going to let them get close enough to bombard the surface again." Jake Morrison stood in the main Valdari command center watching the preparations for the second battle. The biocomputers showed him detailed scans of the incoming enemy fleet. The hegemony had brought ships from 4 different species, and each one had different weapons and tactics. "Can your people help us fight them?" Jake asked Venthara, who was coordinating with the Planetary Defense Network. "We have no weapons," she replied with sadness in her voice. "But our biocomputers can interface with your ship systems." "We can help you see and react faster than the enemy expects." Elder Zeftal approached them with an idea that would change everything. "Our root network connects every living thing on this world. Every plant, every animal, every microorganism. What if we could share that network with your fleet?" Jake felt his heart race as he understood what the Elder was suggesting. "You want to turn the entire planet into a sensor array?" "More than that," Zeftal said. "We want to make your fleet part of our world, connected, aware, alive." The process took 6 hours. Valdari biotechnicians worked with human engineers to create hybrid systems that had never been attempted before. Living computers were connected to mechanical sensors. Organic neural networks interfaced with electronic targeting systems. The boundary between technology and biology began to blur. Captain Amy Rodriguez felt the change the moment her ship Phoenix connected to the planetary network. Suddenly, she could sense every enemy vessel in the system. She knew their speed, their heading, their weapon status. It was like having 1,000 eyes spread across space. "This is incredible," she said to her crew. "I can feel the entire battle area, every ship, every movement." Her weapons officer Carl Davis nodded as he watched his targeting computer adapt and learn. "The bio interface is showing me weak points in enemy armor that our scanners never detected. It's like having perfect knowledge of every target." The second battle began when the hegemony fleet moved toward the planet in a massive formation. Their plan was simple, overwhelming force applied to crush the human defenders through sheer numbers. But they had not counted on fighting enemies who could anticipate their every move. Lieutenant Commander Steve Palmer led his fighter squadron in an attack that seemed impossible. His bio-enhanced fighters moved through space like living things, dodging enemy fire that should have destroyed them. The Valdari neural interfaces allowed the pilots to react faster than conscious thought. "I can feel where they're going to shoot before they fire," Palmer reported over the comm. "This is like flying in a dream." His wingman Pete Jackson destroyed 3 enemy fighters in a single pass. "The biocomputer is learning their attack patterns. It's showing me exactly where to aim." The human fleet fought like a single organism. Ships that had been separate units became part of a larger whole connected by the Valdari bio network. When one ship was damaged, others moved to protect it. When an enemy formation attacked human vessels, were already moving to counter it. Commander Kreshtak aboard the rebuilt hegemony flagship watched his forces being systematically destroyed by opponents who seemed to predict his every move. "How are they doing this?" he snarled at his tactical officer. "They react before we even give orders." His science officer, an insectoid Vektari named Sheshik, studied the enemy movements with growing alarm. "Commander, I believe they have achieved some form of collective intelligence. Their ships are not fighting as individuals, but as a single entity." The battle raged for 18 hours. The hegemony threw everything they had at the human fleet, but each attack was anticipated and countered. Human ships enhanced with Valdari biotechnology fought with precision that seemed almost supernatural. They wasted no shots, made no unnecessary movements, and protected each other like family. Engineer Ben Carter worked in the engine room of the Liberty, while the massive carrier served as the command center for the entire fleet. The biocomputers had grown throughout the ship like a living nervous system. Captain, the planetary network is showing me stress patterns in enemy hulls. I can predict which ships are about to suffer system failures. Captain Diana Wells used that information to coordinate her fighter squadrons. Focus on the ships showing critical stress. The biocomputers are telling us which targets are most vulnerable. The turning point came when Jake Morrison made a suggestion that changed the nature of the battle itself. What if we don't just defend? He asked Admiral Campbell during a brief communication. What if we attack their home systems? Campbell looked at the tactical display showing the enemy jump gates. We don't know where those gates lead. It could be a trap. The Valdari route network extends into quantum space, Jake explained. They can trace the quantum signatures of the jump gates back to their origin points. We could strike at hegemony supply bases while they're focused on attacking us here. The plan was audacious and dangerous. Half the human fleet would remain to defend Kepler 442b, while the other half would follow the quantum trails to attack hegemony infrastructure. It was the kind of bold strategy that could win the war or lose everything. Captain Rodriguez volunteered to lead the strike force. My ship is already fully integrated with the bio network. We can navigate the quantum trails better than anyone. Admiral Campbell made the decision that would define the battle. Do it. Take 50 ships and hit them where it hurts. We'll hold the line here. The Phoenix and 49 other ships disappeared into quantum space, following trails that only the Valdari biocomputers could detect. They emerged in hegemony territory and began attacking supply depots and reinforcement fleets before the enemy knew what was happening. The strategy worked perfectly. The hegemony forces attacking Kepler 442b suddenly found themselves cut off from reinforcements and supplies. Their commanders began receiving desperate calls for help from their own home systems. Commander Kreshtak watched his empire burning on multiple fronts. Impossible. How did they learn to fight like this? His science officer Jeshik provided the answer that would haunt the hegemony for generations. Commander, I believe we have encountered something new. A species that does not just use technology, but becomes one with it. They have achieved what we thought impossible. The second battle ended with the hegemony fleet in full retreat. They had lost over half their ships, and their entire supply network was under attack. The mammals from the unknown world had not just defeated them. They had fundamentally changed the nature of warfare itself. Jake Morrison stood with Venthara watching the enemy ships jump away to safety. Is it over? She asked. Jake shook his head. No, but we've shown them something they never expected. We've shown them that some things are worth fighting for. 6 months after the last hegemony ship fled from Kepler 442b, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the newly built Earth Defense Station watching construction crews work on the orbital facilities. Human and Valdari workers moved together through space in environmental suits, building something that had never existed before in the galaxy. The station was a perfect blend of human engineering and Valdari biotechnology. Metal frameworks supported living sections that grew and adapted to their environment. Computer systems that thought and learned worked alongside mechanical components that could be repaired and upgraded. It was beautiful and functional in ways that neither species could have achieved alone. Admiral Campbell joined Jake at the viewing window. The Admiral looked older than he had 6 months ago, but there was satisfaction in his eyes. The council meeting went well. 12 more species have requested protection agreements with Earth. Jake nodded as he watched a Valdari bioship dock with the station. The living vessel pulsed with its own heartbeat while mechanical arms extended to help with the docking procedure. How many does that make total? 18 species under Earth's protection. The Galactic Protection Alliance is growing faster than we ever imagined. Campbell paused and looked at the planet below them. None of this would have happened if you hadn't crashed on that world. The transformation had been remarkable. What started as a desperate rescue mission had become the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. Earth's fleets now patrolled the territories of peaceful species across 3 sectors of space. The old rules of conquest and domination were being replaced by cooperation and mutual defense. Vanthara approached them with her skin showing the bright patterns of happiness. She had been appointed as the first Vadari ambassador to Earth and spent her time traveling between worlds to help establish new protection agreements. The Zephyrian delegation has arrived. They're requesting immediate assistance against hegemony raiders. Campbell frowned. I thought the hegemony was finished after we destroyed their main fleet. The central government collapsed, Vanthara explained. But individual species are still conducting raids on their own. The Zephyrians are aquatic people like us. They have no defenses against orbital bombardment. Jake looked at the Admiral. How long until we can get ships there? Captain Rodriguez and the Phoenix Squadron are already en route. They should arrive within 48 hours. Campbell smiled grimly. The hegemony learned not to threaten our allies. Now the individual species are learning the same lesson. The success of the human-Valdari partnership had created ripple effects throughout the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together under Earth's protection. The old cycle of conquest and revenge was being broken by the simple idea that the strong should protect the weak. Dr. Helen Wu arrived from Earth aboard the research vessel Discovery to study the biotechnological breakthroughs that were emerging from the partnership. She stood in the Valdari Biotechnology Lab watching human scientists work alongside alien bioengineers to create things that seemed like magic. This is incredible, she said to engineer Ben Carter, who was helping to develop new hybrid ship designs. You've created a computer that can literally grow new circuits as needed. Carter gestured toward a device that looked like a cross between a quantum processor and a flowering plant. The Valdari showed us how to make technology that evolves. This biocomputer has already solved 3 engineering problems that we couldn't figure out on our own. The implications were staggering. Medical technology that could regrow organs was being adapted to repair damaged spacecraft. Agricultural systems that could grow food in any environment were solving hunger on dozens of worlds. Transportation networks that grew and adapted themselves were connecting distant planets in ways that had never been possible. Captain Amy Rodriguez returned from the Zephyrian system with news that showed how much the galaxy had changed. The hegemony raiders fled the moment they saw our ships. They didn't even try to fight. Word is spreading that attacking our allies means facing the entire Earth fleet. Jake felt a deep satisfaction as he listened to the report. The promise he had made to the Valdari had grown into something much larger than anyone had imagined. Earth was no longer just another spacefaring species. They had become the guardians of galactic peace. Lieutenant Commander Steve Palmer had been promoted to lead the new joint training program where human and alien pilots learned to work together. His students included members of 6 different species, all learning to use bio-enhanced fighters and neural interface technology. The key is trust, Palmer explained to his mixed class of human and alien cadets. The biocomputers can only work if you trust them completely. They're not just tools, they're partners. A young Valdari pilot named Kassara raised her webbed hand. Commander, how do humans learn to trust so quickly? My people took generations to develop our biotechnology, Palmer smiled. Humans are good at adapting. We've learned to trust your biocomputers because they've proven themselves. Just like you learn to trust our tactics because they work. The cultural exchange was just as important as the technological cooperation. Human children grew up learning Valdari biology while Valdari youth studied human engineering. Artists from different species worked together to create new forms of beauty. Musicians discovered that sounds which were impossible for one species could be created by another. Jake Morrison had been appointed as Earth's first galactic ambassador, a position that didn't exist until he created it. He traveled from world to world, helping to establish new partnerships and solve conflicts before they turned into wars. His office was aboard the defense station where he could coordinate with both military and civilian authorities. Elder Zeftal visited the station to see what their rescue of one human had created. The ancient Valdari moved slowly through the corridors, marveling at the blend of technologies and species working together. "We saved one life," he said to Jake. "And that one life saved our entire civilization." Jake shook his head. "You did. More than save my life. You showed me what compassion looks like. You proved that advanced civilizations don't have to be warlike. That's the lesson we're spreading across the galaxy." The Galactic Protection Alliance had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Earth's fleets protected alien species across 3 sectors of space. The old hegemony territories were being transformed into cooperative federations. Trade flowed freely between worlds that had been enemies for centuries. President Turner visited the station to see the results of his decision to intervene in an alien war. He stood with Jake and Admiral Campbell looking out at ships from a dozen different species docked together in peaceful cooperation. "When I authorized the fleet deployment, I thought we were just preventing one genocide," Turner said. "I had no idea we were starting a galactic revolution." Campbell nodded toward the planet below where human and Valdari families were building new communities together. "The galaxy is changing, sir." "The old rules don't apply anymore?" "Species are choosing cooperation over conquest." Jake watched a group of human and Valdari children playing together in the station's recreation area. They switched languages without thinking and shared toys that worked for different types of hands. For them, cooperation between species was completely normal. "This is just the beginning," Jake said. "We've shown the galaxy that there's another way to live among the stars. Every species that joins us makes the alliance stronger. Every peaceful solution to a conflict creates more trust. We're building something that will last for generations." The promise he had made to dying aliens 6 months ago had become humanity's promise to the galaxy. Earth stood guard over alien skies not as conquerors but as protectors. The strong defended the weak. The advanced helped the struggling. And slowly but surely the galaxy was becoming a place where all species could thrive, together under the protection of those who chose to serve rather than to rule.